we're going to talk about the 3 different levels. There's a little middle in there, and we're calling it, everybody get ready, kinesthetic connections. Whew. That is a 25-cent word if I ever heard one. And kinesthetic involves movement of some kind. It involves shifting. It involves something being active. And so in each of these 3 areas of connection that we have, there's movement. You can go in and out of each one. You can be an acquaintance, a friend, and then the deepest level of connection that we're calling is discipleship. Everybody say discipleship. And so, Mom, what was the first kind of level of connection?
It would not be Kevin. Kevin would be the outer circle of hell. Not quite. That sounds awful, right? You're like, you shouldn't say that. Well, it's in the Bible, along with a couple other words. I know, right? I need to get saved. But on the outside, we have an acquaintance. And Jesus, if you look at his life, he had acquaintances. And he had people who came to him. And they came to him basically to get something from him, a miracle, a solution, a healing, and it was all good. And those relationships, you see the widow of Nain, they had a funeral procession, and Jesus stopped the funeral procession because her son was being buried, and he raised her son from the dead. That was kind of a drop your teeth. Another, I would say, initial outside kind of acquaintance relationship for Jesus was the Samaritan woman at the well in John chapter 4. And I like her because initially it's just the acquaintance. It's Jesus sits down by the well, she comes, and he asks her for a drink of water. It's kind of like, hey, can I see your receipt? Not quite. But can I have a drink of water? But it's acquaintance. And in that initial acquaintance, there starts to be more and more connection, more and more conversation, more and more relationship. And I think for all of us in the room watching online, we've all had, at least at the minimum, some kind of acquaintance, some kind of brush with Jesus. Back in the day, we used to have those bumper stickers, I found it. Anybody remember those yellow bumper stickers that said, I found it? I always wondered what it was. And I think it would be better to say I found him, or maybe he found me, because the point of it is that there's this at least initial introduction, acquaintance with Jesus. So I think most of us have had kind of that first blush. And maybe we find ourselves in that place. I think sometimes we have seasons in our life where we are deeper with Jesus, and then sometimes we're not quite as deep. Anybody find that your life has some ups and downs with Jesus? I just feel that to be true. And so whether you're watching now online or you're in the room and you find yourself kind of like in a deep level with Jesus, fantastic. If you find yourself kind of more at an acquaintance level. But again, it's kinesthetic. We're moving. We're not being stationary. There's progress. There's growth. There's potential. There's intentional direction. And so as we think about that, I just encourage you, there's a couple of hurdles that maybe if you find yourself in this acquaintance mode, a little bit more kind of on the outskirts, there's a couple of hurdles you might think about in terms of how you can overcome and how you can kind of move in a positive, more purposeful, more intimate connection with Jesus. What would some of those hurdles be, Isabell?
Just in the biblical examples, we have the rich young ruler, and his problem was wealth. Jesus said, give up everything and follow me. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Because he valued his wealth more than following Jesus. And another, I think a good example of someone who was able to kind of make it through that hurdle is Nicodemus. We see him talking with Jesus, and he has serious questions and concerns regarding the religious validity of Jesus. And, how can I be born again? That's not possible. Jesus is saying, no, it's not that. And so Nicodemus is kind of working through these religion and this mindset that he has of Jesus is more important than my religious beliefs. Jesus is more important than this. We have all the Pharisees healing on the Sabbath. And then kind of another really important one is being offended with Jesus. Guys, I promise you at some point in your life you're going to be offended at Jesus because our nature as humans is not to be all perfect all the time. And Jesus' nature is to be all perfect all the time. And so when we're not perfect and we think that we are, and Jesus says, sorry, you're not, our immediate response is, oh my God, I don't want to. No, stop. That offends me. That hurts me. I don't want that. But if we can sacrifice our pride and we can prioritize Jesus over offense, and the key word here is prioritize. If we can prioritize Jesus over our finances, over our religion, over our preconceived notions, over our intelligence, this is one for me that's been a real struggle, but prioritizing Jesus over like intelligence and academic wellness, because sometimes Jesus is not going to make sense and I'm not going to understand it, but I have to prioritize his will and him over what I think and over what I believe, and just kind of let that be.
I'd also say another obstacle sometimes is when we get angry, hurt, disappointed, frustrated with Jesus. He's not doing what we want him to do, right? He's supposed to be all-powerful, and I'm not seeing it. How come Jesus didn't stop this? How come Jesus didn't intervene? How many of you ever struggled with that? I think the whole room, everybody watching online. And some of us, even now in this minute, it's hard for us. But I think we have to be careful that we don't let an offense with Jesus be more important than our relationship with him.